You know who returned back to basketball for the first time in like 8 games? New Orleans Pelicans point guard Lonzo Ball is back. He had an average game against the Phoenix Suns. But the big story here is Lonzo Ball is back. You see, I used the word the big story. Ironically, this is not a big story. A wise man once told me, and I listened to this wise man in this regard. A wise man once told me, you'd rather they hate you than they not care about you at all. Obviously, if people love you, that's great for your brand. But be clear, people that hate you, that's just as great. I got a lot of subscribers on my hip-hop YouTube. I have over 250,000 subscribers on my hip-hop YouTube. A lot of people like me. A lot of probably more people hate me in my opinions and my takes and my news, the way I deliver it. But those people still count as views. They watch my videos probably more than the people who love me. That hate translates into advertising dollars for me as well. That's all good. You think everybody agrees with Stephen A's takes or Shannon Sharp or Skip Bayless? No. Sometimes you watch their video just to see how outrageous they're going, their take is going to be on something. I'm sure I get that to a much lesser degree. You rather somebody hate you than to not care about you at all. When people start to not care about you, you're in trouble. Lonzo Ball has been out for the last 7-8 games. Nobody's talking about Lonzo Ball. Nobody's talking about that Pelicans team until Zion Williamson makes his debut. You see, I watch every dribble. Y'all see on my platform, I give y'all a highlight for every basketball game that happens in the National Basketball Association. So I see everything. I've been watching this Pelicans team. They're not bad. Drew Holiday comes to play. Brandon Ingram's averaging 25 this season. They got some nice pieces. I like Jackson Hayes. They got some nice pieces. You really can't judge this team until Zion Williamson makes his debut. But Lonzo's learning a very hard life lesson. And I do believe this young man is growing up right in front of us. And Lonzo's learning a hard lesson that most people don't learn. Some do, some don't. It wasn't ever about you. It was about the company that you represented. You see, there's a worker who works in Apple today. He thinks Apple rises and shines on his behind. He works at Apple in the mall, and everybody asks him for his perspective on computers. He's great with all the customers. He's the genius of the store. But what little does he know, that if he gets fired tomorrow, Apple will still be a multi-billion-dollar company. There's a mechanic that works at the car place. He's great with cars. Knows everything about a car. Literally can start a car up with 2 wires in his hand. He can put them together and that car start if he wanted to. He's that damn good with cars. Well, that company will move on from him when he either gets too old or it costs him too much, or a combination of two. It costs the company too much to afford him. They'll move on from him, and that company, more times than not, will still go on without him. You see, Lonzo Ball thought people cared about him when he was a Los Angeles Laker. He's learning that people cared about him when he played for the Lakers. Nobody's talking about him. There's no news stories talking about Lonzo Ball, how he's injured for his 3rd straight year. Got drafted in 2017. Has not finished the season yet. Well on his way to not finishing his 3rd straight season. And no one cares. Having chronic ankle injuries, chronic leg injuries. Literally can't get through a season. His dad was a mess. We ain't heard nothing from LeVar Ball in weeks. When you want to know why LeVar's so quiet? LeVar is putting all his time into LaMelo right now because he knows Lonzo Ball could very well be outside looking in on this league in a couple years. You know what I think about Lonzo Ball, and I think this is what he believes is going to happen for him? I believe Lonzo Ball, he thinks, because the NBA literally just hands out money to guys right now, I believe Lonzo Ball thinks and when Lonzo plays, he can stuff a stat sheet. He's averaging 11.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. I believe Lonzo Ball believes those stats alone are going to get him a nice contract because he's up for an extension next summer. Is he right? Is he wrong? I don't know. The NBA does have a bad habit of giving out money. My guess is GMs know enough about Lonzo to say, no, he's washed goods. He doesn't play enough. And if that is the case, Lonzo doesn't get a new deal for a lot of money, he will then become a guy trying to make his way around the league. Because the Pelicans are not going to give him too many years around Zion. They're going to move on. They're going to continue to test pieces out around Zion. And by the way, Zion's out with an injury right now. The Pelicans don't got enough time to be dealing with two guys. And I'm guaranteeing you, Zion's their guy that they're going to take their time with and invest their energy in. It ain't going to be Lonzo Ball. They ain't doing it with two guys that are injury prone. So, I'm looking at Lonzo like, when are you going to play? He's playing now, but I wouldn't be surprised in 3-4 games. I'm not wishing this on this young man. He's hurt again. He's out of the rotation. Alvin Gentry, when Lonzo's available, not playing him in the fourth quarter. Not playing him down the stretch. No, nobody counts on him. Nobody counts on him to be available. The coaches don't count on him to be available late in games. I'm looking at how this team responds. J.J. Redick has found his game. Drew Holiday has found his game. Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, the way they play basketball, they don't count on Lonzo for anything. Like I said at the start of this video, you'd rather be hated and talked about in a negative fashion over being irrelevant. Right now, Lonzo is irrelevant. I remember something from Alan Foster, and I met Alan Foster. This was the guy who used to work with LeVar Ball and the Big Baller brand. This guy came out a couple months ago, and a lot of people just kind of slept on this story again because Lonzo is not as relevant as he once was when he was on the Los Angeles Lakers. Alan Foster came out a couple months ago and said, Lonzo Ball has torn ligaments in his ankles. The Lakers threatened to void his contract if he operated on it. Now, this comes after Lonzo Ball said he believed his Big Baller brand shoes were trash. Obviously, these Big Baller brand shoes were his dad's idea that he forced on his son. Had it been Lonzo's way, I'm sure that kid looking back now would have loved to have been to sign a deal with Nike, Adidas, one of these top brands, because he had enough popularity when he was coming out of UCLA as a number 2 pick, going to the Lakers. A shoe company would have invested some money. Now, it wouldn't have been Zion money, but it would have been really good money invested into Lonzo. Might I add, Markelle Fultz was the number 1 pick in that draft. He didn't get a crap ton of money either for his shoe deal. None of those top guys did. Jason Tatum, none of those guys got big deals for shoe deals. None of them guys got signature shoes. So, remember, Alan Foster came out and said, Lonzo's got torn ligaments in an ankle. Like now. Now, how Alan Foster received that information, who knows? But again, he used to work with Big Baller Brand. He was the head of that. So be clear, he probably still got relationships with people. If the whole Big Baller Brand cut him off, he's probably still on email chains, text messages for it. There's a way Alan Foster knows something. Now, did he say it out of spite and from a negative place? Probably so. There's probably some malintent behind Alan Foster leaking that information out. But I think we should look at it as potentially true. If Lonzo's got torn ligaments, he just got back from an injury. Something's wrong with him. If Lonzo really does have torn ligaments and he's washed goods, he can't stay healthy. I'm looking at this dude, and I'm looking at that draft class 2017 as one of the worst. And Jason Tatum's shining, don't get me wrong. He'll get the bag next summer. But I'm looking around like, yo, between Markelle and Lonzo, this is ridiculous. Dudes airball open jumpers. Confidence at an all-time low. They can't stay on the damn basketball court. Lonzo can't finish a season. I'm telling y'all, you'd rather be hated than to be irrelevant. When no one's talking about you, that's the problem. That's the problem with Lonzo. No one even cares anymore. People tired of talking about the same injuries. He can't make it to the court. You don't talk about him on the basketball court anymore because he's irrelevant. His Big Baller Brand show on Facebook that I was on, by the way, a couple seasons ago. Please check your boy out. I'm in season 5 of one of the episodes. His show has more tension around his name or more conversation around his name than he do on the basketball court this year. That's a problem. No one talks about the basketball anymore. Irrelevant. You into sports, we got you. NFL news, I got you. NBA news, NBA highlights, NBA full coverage, feature stories, all that great stuff, I got you. We even got a little bit of Madden and 2K mixed in. Subscribe to this platform, and I got you. More quality content on the way. Subscribe.